I stood beside my father's coffin, my hands shaking. The lawyer cleared his throat and read the words that shattered my world. Everything goes to Marcus Hartwell. The room went silent. 3 years of changing bedpans, feeding him, reading to him every night, all erased with one sentence. My brother Marcus sat across from me. His wife Vivienne beside him. She wore a tiny smirk that made my stomach turn. I had given up my nursing job in Boston. I had given up my apartment, my friends, my life. Marcus hadn't even called once in 3 years. Now he got everything. The house, the land, the business. I felt my legs give out. As people whispered around me, I walked out into the cold air and made myself a promise. I would find out why. I remembered the day everything changed. It was 3 years ago when the hospital called. Dad had suffered a stroke. I drove 4 hours from Boston, my heart racing the entire way. When I arrived, the doctor said he needed full-time care. I looked at my phone waiting for Marcus to call. He never did. That night I packed my life into boxes. My boss begged me to stay, but Dad needed me. The first month was the hardest. I learned to lift him, bathe him, manage his medications. He couldn't speak well, but his eyes said thank you. Marcus sent one text that whole year. Sorry, busy with work. I forgave him then. I thought family meant sacrifice. I thought love meant showing up. But one night I heard Dad on the phone, whispering words that haunted me. No, Marcus, she must never know. A week after the funeral, a stranger appeared at the gate. He was tall, nervous, holding a brown envelope. For Mr. Hartwell, he said, then left quickly. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a single silver key and a note in Marcus's handwriting. Don't let her find out yet. My blood ran cold. Find out what? I turned the key over in my palm, studying every detail. It was small, old, with numbers scratched on the side. This key unlocked something important. Something Marcus wanted hidden. I thought about the will, about Vivienne's smirk, about Dad's strange phone call years ago. Everything felt connected, like puzzle pieces I couldn't see clearly. That night I made a decision. I would find what this key opened, no matter what it cost me. I remembered the hospital visit from 2 years ago. Dad had pneumonia and nearly died. I called Marcus, crying, begging him to come. He arrived the next day with Vivienne, both dressed like they were going to a party. They took selfies with Dad, posted them online with hearts and prayers. Then they disappeared again. I stayed for 72 hours straight, holding Dad's hand while machines beeped around us. The nurse pulled me aside that night. Your brother was here earlier, she whispered. He was asking questions about your father's house, about property documents. Felt sick. When Dad recovered, I confronted Marcus in the parking lot. Were you asking about the house? He smiled, that fake smile I knew too well. Just being prepared, Emma. Someone has to think about the future. I should have seen it then. The greed in his eyes. But I was too tired, too trusting. The key haunted me for days. I searched every room, every drawer, looking for what it might open. Then I found it. In Dad's study, behind a shelf of old books, was a locked wooden cabinet. My hands shook as I slid the key into the lock. It clicked open easily, like it had been waiting for me. Inside were stacks of old letters tied with string, bank statements, and photos I had never seen. One photo made me freeze. A young woman with dark hair stood beside a man I didn't recognize. On the back, someone had written in faded ink, "For my daughter Isabel." I stared at the name. Isabel. Not Emma. Who was Isabel? I looked through more photos, my heart pounding. The woman appeared in several pictures, always smiling, always beautiful. Then I found a letter addressed to "My dearest Isabel," in Dad's handwriting. My stomach dropped. Did I have a sister I never knew about? The thought kept me awake for nights. What if I wasn't really Dad's daughter? What if that's why Marcus got everything? I needed to know the truth. The next morning, I took one of Dad's old combs from his bathroom. Hair still clung to it. Then I pulled strands from my own brush. I found a DNA testing company online and mailed both samples. The lady at the post office smiled at me. I couldn't smile back. My entire identity felt like it was hanging by a thread. As I walked home, I felt eyes on me. I turned and saw Vivienne across the street, watching me from her car. Our eyes met for a second. Then she drove away quickly. My phone buzzed that night. Unknown number. The message was short and cold. "Stop digging or you'll regret it." I blocked the number, but fear crawled up my spine. Someone knew what I was doing, and they wanted me to stop. I suspected Vivienne sent the message. She was always jealous, always competitive. When Marcus first brought her home, she looked at our modest house with disgust. She wanted the big life, the money, the status. I tried to be kind to her, but she treated me like I was invisible. Now, with the inheritance, she had everything she wanted. 2 days later, a white envelope arrived in my mailbox. My name was typed on the front. Inside was the DNA test results. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I held the envelope for a full hour, too scared to open it. Outside, birds sang. Inside, my world was about to change forever. I finally tore it open, my eyes scanning the words quickly. DNA match probability, 0%. The paper slipped from my fingers. Theodore Hartwell was not my biological father. I wasn't his daughter. I fell to my knees, crying harder than I cried at his funeral. Everything I knew was a lie. I sat on the floor for hours, numb. If Dad wasn't my real father, then who was? Why did he raise me? Why did he let me believe I was his? Questions swirled in my head like a storm. Then I noticed something. Another paper had fallen from the envelope, a small note in handwriting I didn't recognize. "Ask him about your mother's last night. My mother died when I was 8. I barely remembered her. Just her perfume and her soft voice singing me to sleep. What did her last night have to do with any of this? I needed answers. I went back to Dad's study and tore through everything. Notebooks, files, old calendars. Finally, in the bottom drawer, I found a leather journal. Dad's journal. The first entry was dated 33 years ago, the year I was born. My heart raced as I opened it, desperate for truth. The journal entries were painful to read. Dad wrote about my mother, about their marriage falling apart. Then I found the entry that changed everything. Claire confessed tonight. She had an affair. The child isn't mine. My breath caught. But when I held Emma in the hospital, none of that mattered. She looked at me with those tiny eyes, and I knew I would love her forever, blood or not. Tears ran down my face. He knew from the beginning. He chose me anyway. I kept reading, learning about the man who gave me everything, even when he didn't have to. But the last entry stopped mid-sentence. "If she ever finds out the truth, I'll lose both of my..." The sentence ended there, unfinished. Both of my what? Children. Hearts. I needed to know what he meant to write. Someone knocked on my door, interrupting my thoughts. It was Vivienne, dressed in expensive clothes, her smile sharp as glass. "Emma," she said sweetly, stepping inside without being invited. "I thought I'd drop by. To see how you're adjusting." Her eyes scanned the room like she owned it. "Marcus, and I think it's time you found your own place. This house belongs to us now." I crossed my arms. "I'm not leaving until I understand why Dad did this." She laughed, a cruel sound. "Oh, sweetie, isn't it obvious? You weren't really part of this family anyway." The words hit me like a slap. She knew. Somehow, she knew about the DNA. "How do you?" I started, but she interrupted. "Your father told Marcus everything before he died. About your mother's affair. About you being someone else's mistake." She walked to the door, pausing dramatically. "You took care of him out of guilt, not love. Don't pretend you're some kind of saint." She left, and I stood there, shaking with rage and hurt. I couldn't sleep that night. Vivienne's words echoed in my head. But something felt wrong. If Dad told Marcus the truth, why did he seem so secretive on that phone call years ago? I went back to the attic, searching through boxes I had ignored before. Then I found it. A sealed envelope with my name written in Dad's shaky handwriting. To my real daughter, Emma. Tore it open. Inside was a letter dated 1 week before he died. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and Marcus has probably shown you the will. Sorry. I had to protect you. Marcus discovered the truth about your birth and threatened to destroy you with it if I didn't leave him everything. I refused at first, but he said he would tell the whole town, ruin your name. I couldn't let that happen. But know this, there is a safe deposit box at Sterling Bank. Everything that's truly yours is there. The key is hidden where we used to read together. I love you always, Dad. I ran to Dad's bedroom, to the old reading chair where he used to read me stories as a child. I felt along the bottom cushion and found a small tear in the fabric. Inside was a tiny envelope. But when I opened it, my heart sank. Someone had already taken the key. I searched the entire chair, the floor, everywhere. Nothing. Then I noticed something. Muddy footprints near the window, small and fresh. Someone had broken in. I called Mrs. Fletcher, our neighbor, an old woman who saw everything. Mrs. Fletcher, did you see anyone near my house last night? She nodded quickly. Yes, dear. That fancy woman, your brother's wife. I saw her leaving around midnight with something shiny in her hand. Looked like keys. My blood boiled. Vivienne had stolen from me. She had the key to everything Dad wanted me to have. I grabbed my phone and drove straight to their mansion across town. I pounded on their door until Marcus answered. Where is she? I demanded. Vivienne appeared behind him, her face innocent. Emma, what's wrong? I pushed past Marcus. You broke into my house. You stole the key. She laughed. I have no idea what you're talking about. But then I saw it. Hanging from her designer purse on the table, a small silver keychain with a key I recognized. I lunged for it, but she grabbed the purse first. Looking for this. She dangled it in front of me. Too bad. We already used it. My heart stopped. You opened the deposit box. Marcus stepped between us. That's right. And everything inside now belongs to us. Dad's real will, the property deeds, all of it. I felt like I was drowning. That was meant for me. Vivienne smirked. Should have gotten there first, sweetie. That's how the real world works. I left, but I wasn't giving up. Not yet. The next morning I went to Sterling Bank. I wore Vivienne's style of clothes, dark sunglasses, and carried myself with her arrogance. The manager looked up. Mrs. Hartwell, back again. I nodded, not correcting him. I need to confirm what was in the box. He checked his computer. Of course. The property ownership documents, the updated will, and the business shares. Your husband signed everything yesterday. My mind raced. There was another will. Real one. And those documents, are they legal? The manager nodded. Completely legal. Mr. Hartwell signed them 6 months before his death, properly witnessed and notarized. I thanked him and left quickly. Outside I called my old friend Julian. He was a lawyer now, someone I trusted. Julian, I need your help. That night we met at a cafe. I told him everything. He listened carefully, taking notes. Emma, if there's a second will, the first one Marcus presented might be invalid. We needed proof. Julian requested copies of both wills from the court. When they arrived, he spread them on his desk. The first will, the one that gave everything to Marcus, looked perfect. But Julian noticed something. Look at the signature, he said, pointing. I leaned closer. The signature looked like Dad's, but something was off. The letter T, in Theodore, was too smooth. Dad's hand shook for the last 2 years of his life. His signatures were always shaky. This is too clean, Julian said. This might be a forgery. Hope sparked in my chest. We needed more evidence. I remembered Dad had security cameras installed a year ago. I had the app on my phone but never checked it. That night, I scrolled through months of footage. Then I found it. A video from 3 weeks before Dad died. Vivienne stood over him, papers in hand, speaking close to his face. Dad shook his head weakly. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching silently as Vivienne pressured our dying father. I showed the video to Julian. His eyes widened. This is coercion. We can use this. I felt powerful for the first time in weeks. The next day, I confronted Marcus and Vivienne at their house. I have video evidence of you forcing Dad to sign papers. Marcus's face went pale. Vivienne, however, just smiled coldly. You want to play that game? Fine. She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. My mother with a man I didn't recognize, holding hands, laughing. If you try to expose us, I'll make sure everyone knows your mother was a cheater and you're not even a real Hartwell. I stared at the photo, my throat tight. Then I looked closer. The man looked familiar. I zoomed in on his face and gasped. That's your father. Vivienne's smile vanished. What? I pointed at the man. That's your father. I've seen his picture at your parents' house. The color drained from her face. No. That's impossible. The truth hit us both like lightning. If Vivienne's father had an affair with my mother, and I was the result, then Vivienne and I were half-sisters. The room spun. Marcus looked confused. What are you two talking about? I showed him the photo. Vivienne's father is my biological father. We're related. Vivienne stumbled backward. This can't be real. But I saw it in her eyes. She knew it was true. Suddenly everything made sense. Why Dad kept the secret. Why he stayed silent. He wasn't just protecting me. He was protecting both families. If the truth came out, Vivienne's parents' marriage would be destroyed. Her perfect family image would crumble. I looked at her, my half-sister, and felt something unexpected. Not anger but sadness. That's why Dad left that cryptic note, I whispered. He was trying to protect everyone. Vivienne sat down, her hands shaking. For once, she had no sharp words, no cruel smile. A shock. I used the secret as leverage. You expose me, I expose your father, I told Vivienne quietly. Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time I saw her as human, as vulnerable. I can't let people know, she whispered. It would destroy my mother. He nodded. Then we both stay quiet. But you give me what's rightfully mine. Marcus exploded. This is manipulation. You're using blackmail. I turned to him. You manipulated a dying man. I'm just protecting myself. Vivienne looked defeated, but Marcus wasn't done. I'll fight you in court. I'll make sure you get nothing. That's when my phone rang. It was the notary, Mr. Patterson. Miss Hartwell, I found something important in our archives. A second will, filed by your father 6 months before his death. It's properly sealed and witnessed. You need to come immediately. I looked at Marcus and Vivienne. A second will has been found. Marcus's face turned red. Impossible. But I was already walking out the door, hope rising in my chest like the sun. At the notary's office, Mr. Patterson handed me a thick envelope. Your father filed this personally. He insisted it remained sealed until after his death. I opened it carefully. Inside was a will dated 6 months before he died, during a time when his mind was still sharp. The words were clear. To my daughter Emma, who gave me 3 years of love when I needed it most, I leave the family house and Hartwell Construction Company. She has earned it with her heart. Half of everything. The house. The business. My hand shook. Marcus burst through the door. That's fake. But Mr. Patterson shook his head. I witnessed this signature myself. It's completely legal. The other will, the one giving everything to Marcus, was filed later but appears to have irregularities. Vivienne stood frozen in the doorway. I looked at Marcus. Dad knew what you were trying to do. He protected me. Marcus's face twisted with rage. I'll never let you have it. Never. That night my house was ransacked. I came home to find every drawer opened, papers scattered everywhere, my laptop smashed on the floor. They were looking for the second will, trying to destroy evidence. But Julian had already made copies. He had backed up everything digitally and stored originals in his office safe. I called the police, filed a report, And then I did something I never thought I'd do. Posted everything online. The fake will, the video of Vivienne pressuring Dad, the timeline of events. I wrote, "My name is Emma Hartwell. For 3 years, I cared for my dying father while my brother ignored him. When Dad died, my brother stole my inheritance through fraud. This is my story." Within hours it went viral. Neighbors, old family friends, even strangers shared it. Comments flooded in. "Justice for Emma. Marcus should be ashamed. That poor woman." Pressure built. Marcus's business partners started calling, asking questions. Vivienne's friends stopped inviting her to events. A local TV station reached out. They wanted to interview me to tell my story publicly. Marcus sent threatening messages. "You'll regret this." But I wasn't scared anymore. On live television, I sat across from the host and told everything. About the 3 years of care, about finding the truth, about Dad's real words from his journal. I read aloud the line that broke my heart. "Blood means nothing. Love means everything." Emma proved that every single day. The host wiped her eyes. Viewers called in with support. One woman said, "I took care of my mother for 5 years. I understand your pain." When I mentioned starting a foundation for caregivers, people pledged donations immediately. That night, the video had 500,000 views. Marcus's construction projects were being cancelled. Clients didn't want to work with someone who defrauded their own family. Vivienne watched from home, and according to Mrs. Fletcher, she didn't stop crying for hours. Julian filed an official court challenge. With the evidence, witness testimonies, and public support, the judge ruled quickly. The second will was valid. The first will was declared fraudulent. Marcus and Vivienne were ordered to return all property and assets they had taken. They were also fined for coercion and forgery. I sat in the courtroom, watching Marcus's lawyer scramble for arguments. But there was nothing left to say. The truth was undeniable. When the judge's gavel fell, I felt something release inside me. Not victory exactly, just peace. Dad had protected me, even from the grave. Outside the courthouse, reporters asked for comments. "I just want to honor my father's memory," I said simply, "and help other caregivers who feel invisible." That night, I walked through the house I almost lost. Every room held memories. Dad reading to me. Dad laughing at old jokes. Dad holding my hand during his final days. This wasn't just a house. It was love made solid. I officially launched the Theodore Hartwell Foundation for Caregivers. We offered support, resources, and financial help for people caring for sick family members. Donations poured in. People sent messages sharing their stories of sacrifice and invisibility. "Thank you for giving us a voice," one woman wrote. Marcus disappeared from public life. His business collapsed. Last I heard, he moved to another city. Vivienne filed for divorce. I felt sad for her despite everything. She was my half-sister, trapped in her own web of lies. I sent her a letter. "I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. We're family whether we want it to be or not. If you ever need help, I'm here." She never responded. But Mrs. Fletcher told me she kept the letter, framed on her wall. Maybe one day we would talk. Maybe not. Either way, I was free from the anger that once consumed me. 6 months after everything settled, I received a package at my door. No return address. Inside was a small metal box with a note. "Found in your father's bank vault deposit. Overlooked during inventory." My hand shook as I opened it. Inside was a USB drive and a letter. The letter was from the bank manager. Mr. Hartwell left specific instructions. This recording was only to be released to Emma Hartwell after all legal matters were settled. I plugged the USB into my computer. The screen showed Dad sitting in his wheelchair, recorded 6 months before he died. His voice was weak but clear. "My dear, if you're watching this, everything has worked out the way I hoped. I know Marcus tried to take what was yours. But I also know you're strong enough to fight for it. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. You are my daughter not because of blood but because of love. Never forget that. Tears streamed down my face as his words washed over me. The recording continued. I have one last gift for you. In the construction company office, there's a safe behind the old family portrait. The combination is your birthday. Inside, you'll find deeds to 3 properties I never told anyone about. They're yours. Build your future with them. Make me proud. The video ended with him smiling. I love you always. I sat in silence, letting his love fill all the empty spaces in my heart. The next day I went to the office and found the safe exactly where he said. Inside were deeds to 3 small buildings in the city center. Their value was enough to expand my foundation, to help hundreds of caregivers. I stood in front of Dad's portrait, touching the frame gently. Thank you, Dad, for everything. Now, when people ask about my story, I tell them the truth. Love isn't about blood. It's about showing up day after day, even when no one notices. Dad taught me that. And now I teach others. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and like. Share it with someone who needs to hear that they matter, that their sacrifice is seen, that love always wins in the end. Thank you for watching.